Yeah, please clean off the lenses. I don't think I've ever seen you really take care of your glasses before. Get this camera ready. Oh, I flicked you. Sorry.
Get my crunchies off my shoulders.
Yeah, let's make sure they don't end up in my drink.
Mm.
Does that make you feel better?
It does.
Nice and relaxed?
I am
Yeah.
not. Gotta get rid of that. Gonna drive me nuts.
Is your garlic breath done?
I'm gonna go whatever another piece of milk.
God, I feel bad for Carmen when you go to sleep.
That way he gets the full brunt of it in her dreams.
That's real nice of you to do.
I'm gonna breathe on her when she's sleeping.
That's so messed up.
And I'm gonna find out what she dreamed about that night. Carmen, did you have any bad dreams last night? Yeah, I did. You were in it and you had garlic growing out of your ears. I smelled it. Ugh. And that's why.
She might roll over and hit you in the middle of the night.
Oh my God! Imagine if it wakes her up,
Oh, the smell.
like just like me doing it, and like she just wakes up and
She goes, John,
she's gonna
John.
she's gonna punch me. Ah!
John, is that you with your garlic breath again? You bastard.
She's gonna be like, oh, the house is on fire.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming back again to another episode of Goody and Johnny Mo with the Movies. Tonight for episode 63, we are doing Air, A Story of Greatness.
Right.
The Ben Affleck film, directed film about the first pair of Air Jordans and how Nike came to take Michael on as a client. So, before we get into that spoiler-heavy film,
I
drinks.
I feel like
You stayed the same, right?
I'm staying the same, so I'm just drinking my Hofbrau
This is our second video of the night here.
on tap from the beer distributor.
Yep. And then I just grabbed a Blue Point Blueberry Ale, so one of my staples. So cheers. Thanks again for everyone for tuning in, our podcast listeners, and everyone watching.
My goal is to finish that little growler before I leave here tonight because it's a small one. It's basically about two large glasses. I had two glasses and there's like just a little bit left.
Good. You're going to finish that and then get the hell out. So I am a huge Michael Jordan fan, as you can tell. And
Whereas I have almost no interest in basketball. Never played it as a kid. Anytime I played it as a kid, I was always accused of traveling
I wonder why.
because apparently I don't dribble at all. I just
Well, you can't carry
I
it.
just run around with it.
I
I can't hit anything. Never really watched any basketball as a kid. And I always consider myself a Ranger fan, a Giant fan, and a Yankee fan.
yeah.
And
Well, I mean, Jordan he
and
played for the Bulls.
I hate the Islanders. And I don't really care. I don't hate the Mets, but I just don't care about them. I don't hate the Jets. I just don't care about them. But like that's it.
Yeah.
Yankees, Giants,
Rangers.
Rangers.
Knicks didn't enter your equation.
Knicks and Nets, right? Is what right? Like it's not even like an equation in there. It's not even like I'm a Knicks fan or a Net fan. I don't care about basketball at all.
So I was born in the 80s, grew up playing basketball, was my number one sport, loved Jordan. I caught every Bulls game that was televised back in the 90s, followed him everywhere. So I had Air Jordans when I was growing up. And my favorite was the Concords, the Jordan 11s, the patent leathers, the famous patent leather sneakers. And when I saw the trailer, when I first heard about this movie coming out, I thought it was pretty interesting that they were going to make an entire movie about the first pair of Air Jordans and how it all came about, how the deal was made.
Well, to be honest with you, I saw the trailer, and I was very much hooked.
Oh, I thought the first trailer was great.
I
I thought
was
the
like,
first trailer
I was like,
sucked you right in.
even though I don't really care too much about basketball.
But I don't think you have to.
Right? No, you
It's-
don't.
I don't think you have to at all.
It looked like a good story, a good movie.
The
Because
pitch-
and I'm sitting there like not for nothing. I'm gonna learn about what happened.
I think
because I have no idea.
I think the pitch for this was probably perfect because it's not only you're not only going to pull in Michael Jordan fans, basketball fans. You're going to pull in this particular group of an audience, right? And now you got a general audience that is going to be intrigued just by a sports film that is not relatively too old, like a recent story about a very popular player.
Right, and it's not about the game.
Right.
You know,
it has nothing
it's
to
not
do
one
about
of those
the game.
sports movie where it's you're just constantly seeing.
It's not like Hoosiers. You're not
Right,
watching.
everything is on the field
not on the
or
court
on the
the whole
court.
time,
Like
yeah.
it's not one of those typical sports movies. It's almost like a sports business movie.
Yeah, you can look at it like that.
Almost reminded me of almost like in the way that Moneyball was not your typical sports movie.
Right, because it wasn't so much as to what they were doing on the field as to how they figured out a way
Yeah.
to put that team together.
Yeah, it was
and make
the
and
focus
do
was
something
the
different.
focus was on the thought process.
Right.
This is like the focus was on like a business aspect.
Yeah,
Tying in basketball and sneakers and merchandising and all that.
I really thought it was very interesting.
And
how
you're
they
also
came about
getting
this.
a whole group of people that just like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
You're getting.
know-
I think you get an A-list cast because we get Ben Affleck directing and Ben
starring.
and starring in, and he has directed some really good films.
Mm-hmm.
So to see him come in and knowing that he was coming to direct this, you had me there. Matt Damon basically playing the lead role,
Right.
as Sonny, and Jason Bateman, who I love. Jason
And
Bateman.
I don't even know that I really knew he was in the movie until the movie started.
He's definitely in the trailers. You definitely see him. But I thought he played a great role. Chris Tucker is in this movie as well. Marlon Wayans, right? Marlon Wayans has
Yeah.
a small role
Yeah,
in
I think
this.
so, yes. Mhm.
He's in this. We found out that Matt Damon's nephew has a small role.
Yes,
Right?
Matt Damon's. It's his brother's
His older brother's
his
son.
older brother Kyle's son.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah,
feel
no,
like I
like
might be
but
missing
the like
someone in there.
but
Oh, Viola Davis.
Oh, Viola
Davis.
Davis, yeah.
I mean, this was huge. I think this might have been one of the things that Jordan actually requested. I think I might have read that somewhere. Because,
Jordan
Ben-
requested Viola Davis play his mother.
yeah. I
Okay.
think he was like, I want Viola Davis playing my mother.
I mean, not for nothing. I
mean,
love
great.
I love Viola
Me too.
Davis. I
Love her.
I've loved her in almost
Everything she's
every
done,
movie I've ever seen her in.
everything that I've watched
Like
her
she
in,
is
I
she
always
is a
enjoy.
really top notch quality actress.
And
So just side note. So like, we were all planning on going to see that. I knew you were going to want to go see.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And I said, Chris, I'm in because I want to see this. But my wife Carmen, her daughter Vanessa, she was like,
she
Oh,
was,
she-
and she's my sister-in-law was not a big movie goer.
no, she's not.
Not by any
But
means.
She was like, oh, I want to go with
But
you
she
guys.
wanted to see
I
this
was
movie.
like, okay. And she was
Yeah.
but she wanted to go see it because she loves, I think Ben Affleck and or
And
Matt
Damon.
Damon, or
Yep.
even just
Both.
the combination of them together.
Yep.
She
You're
was
absolutely
like,
right.
I want to see that because of them. I'm like, oh, great. Because I'm just sitting there like, I like, so many movies are made that, are telling old stories, from before we were born
Yeah.
or when we were kids or when I was a kid, back in the 60s and 70s, whatever. But there's like, since the 70s, there's things that have happened in the world, whether it's historical, country, war, sports, whatever. There are these great stories that are there that that are ripe,
That haven't been told yet.
that haven't been told.
Yeah.
You know, like you can tell, you know, they're always going to be making World War One stories and World War Two stories, and you know, a reinterpretation or a readaptation of the classics.
Yep.
You know, like when they made, you know, Little Women, you know, a number of years back, highly critically acclaimed, but it's like, you know, at least the third or fourth version, if not fifth version, that's been put on film, and there's going to be more.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of times you're hearing the same stories or the same types of stories, and it's like, you know, there's things that have happened in the last 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 years that there's never been a movie about. You know, maybe, you know, and it's just like, this is where you pull, this is where you pull
Yeah.
these things from. And it's like, oh, like I want to hear like a modern day telling of something significant that happened in my lifetime that's
Yeah.
never been put on film. And I think I don't know that they do that enough. They should be doing that more.
Well, you're
There's-
almost talking a little bit about there's a part of nostalgia when you look at some of
Yeah.
these I'm going to say like a
You know-
period.
you
it's
know,
not really a
and-
period piece,
right, and
but
there's
like,
nothing wrong with a completely made up story. But like these are like
Right.
these are great these are
But this
great
is something that's
stories
based
in
on a
history.
true story.
Yeah, but these
Yeah.
are great stories, great things that can be told that,
You know,
that
and they're-
represent things that happen that we can relate to, as opposed to, you know, something that happened in the 1800s or the 1930s or the 1700s,
Right.
which it's still going to be, those are still going to be good movies, but it's not something that you can readily identify with.
Well, there's
Whereas
something with this film
this
here.
movie, people can identify with a lot of stuff in this movie.
Well, because I think everybody knew who Michael Jordan was. Like, you may not have been a basketball fan, you may not have watched, but
Yeah.
you knew who he was.
Yeah.
And you knew he had a sneaker. Like, you know, I think that he has the most famous sneaker in the world.
And I'll be honest with you, I had no idea that the Air Jordan sneaker came out in
Before he even played.
yeah, like in what do you call it? In sync with his becoming a professional.
Yeah.
Like that, I had no idea.
There- I'm sure there
would
are
have just
some-
assumed that happened after he became a megastar,
There-
and then he said, "All right, now I want my own
And most
sneaker."
people, I think, would think, most people
Yeah.
who didn't follow him or didn't follow the sport probably thought that. I think, and I think that's one of like the great things that this movie does is it really, I think it helps to tell the story for people that obviously who've never really followed him before. Like the people that are the fans and have followed him and know a lot about his history probably knew some of the things going into this film, but maybe didn't know exactly how it took place.
right.
You know,
Whereas for me, everything was
and for other people, it was like
just
you
wow.
you soaked
I
everything.
know.
in.
I don't know anything. Everything in this movie. I'm learning. About.
You know, and it was just really interesting to see the other companies that were involved, where it might not have been Nike at one point in time. You know, it was Jordan was a big fan of Adidas. There was Converse was in the conversation. I don't even think Reebok even like took a meeting with Jordan, or maybe just Jordan didn't want to take a meeting with Reebok.
I don't know that Reebok was that big back then.
And it wasn't. So it's like, you know, and you've got like, you know, Nike at that time was really just more of a running company, a running sneaker company. It had really not much to do with any of these the other big sports, like, you know, like a basketball sneaker. So it was just really interesting to see the film open up on Matt Damon at like a high school game. Just watching some high school kids like giving stuff away, and you know, Matt Damon plays Sonny. He's just a big basketball like guru, just
Well,
for the company.
The funny thing about Matt Damon was because when I was either watching the previews or in the movie, I was like, "Man, Matt Damon got fat." But
So,
apparently, he put
on the weight.
to kind of match the physicality of the character he was playing.
Yeah, for Sonny.
I mean, that the real person, Sonny, was that somebody that you even knew of beforehand?
No, I didn't really know. I didn't know his name. That
Yeah, okay.
helped to like land Jordan.
Yeah, because at the
and
end of
come
the
up
day,
with
these
idea.
are people that work for Nike. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know that any of these people are.
Well,
household names.
Phil Knight, I knew. Phil Knight is a name that I knew. The guy who was like the founder of Nike.
Okay,
That I knew because I wear Nike. I'm
well, he's like that's who Ben.
That's who Ben
Affleck
Affleck plays.
He's the top guy. So yeah, that makes a little sense. But like other people in the hierarchy, I don't know that they would be household names.
No, I don't think so either. But
I'm lucky I know the shoe, let alone the founder. Or whatever.
But so you catch Damon looking at video, right, of all these like players. Like that's part of his job. Like his job is to try to land deals with stars, with players to get like
Endorsements,
endorsements,
commercials, and
right?
all that
To
stuff.
like get these players to like wear their sneaker. And they go into this meeting with Jason Bateman and these other guys who are just schlubs in Nike, a part of their basketball division, and they're trying to figure out who they're gonna go after, right? And they start naming all these top players. Hakeem Olajuwon's off the board, Sam Bowie's off the board. They mentioned Jordan at that point in time. They already said, Bateman makes it known that he's probably going with Adidas, and they start going through all these other players, and then they start the people in the around the table start talking about these other players that are in like the top like 10, top 15 in the
Well,
draft.
I remember they mentioning Barkley.
Barkley was a mention,
Yeah.
and I think they were talking about him probably going to like Converse. And
Now,
there was
what
like
was the
two
year
other
that Michael Jordan first started playing basketball?
84, 85.
That was a long freaking time ago. That was 40 years ago.
Yeah, kinda
Almost,
crazy.
almost 40
Almost
years
40.
ago. Almost 40
Close.
years ago. But so he would have been how old?
He was a kid. He was like 19, 20. Oh, he was I think like 20 years old because I think
So
he
he's
played
like
for 3 years
so he's
in
like
college.
60-year-old guy now, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Affleck. I mean, Damon starts. He's basically like these guys don't know anything about basketball, right? Like he starts like quizzing. He starts like really like pushing on this one guy and like drilling questions at him. Like, well, what do you like about this guy? What do you like about his game? It was like Stockton and like somebody else that he was asking him about. And he's like, what do you like about their game? And the guy was like, I don't know. I just I just like the way he plays.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but what specifically do you like? Like he was really nailing
Yeah,
him.
because ultimately he knows that these guys are just, they're not doing their research. They're just rock and rolling the dice and saying, oh, yeah, like he's popular, let's get him.
Right.
He's, whatever. He's the fourth seed, let's get him.
And it seems like at one point in time, Sonny was like not a basketball whisperer, but like it seemed like he had like done big things to like help bring elevate Nike.
Right. Well, I mean, also, they show that he does a lot of gambling.
Yes, that's
So-
right. Yeah, because at one point after the basketball game, he
He's-
goes to
he's
Vegas.
he's betting on a lot of games. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think he prides himself in his knowledge of basketball and the game and the
Yes.
talent that's out there. And he, trying to make money off it. I don't know if he's winning.
Well, he was. I think he did win that night when he bet in the casino.
Oh, okay.
But it's probably one of those situations where like he probably loses more than he wins.
Yeah, like you don't, if he probably doesn't win every night, but yeah,
Right.
sometimes he hits it big, but then he probably gets But you can tell that, if the only people who are doing that are people that I think follow and
Know
know
the
the
sport.
game,
Yeah.
because
Well,
otherwise,
at least successfully.
like
Otherwise, you're just giving your
like
money
me
away.
betting, I don't know what I'm doing.
You're giving your money away.
Yeah,
And you see Damon at one point like keeps going back to Jordan, and he goes home, he's watching tape, and he's just watching the championship game from 1982. He's just playing it over and over again.
now that's got to be a famous game that
Yeah.
that
UNC wins over Georgetown.
that you knew about.
Yeah.
like and
That was Jordan's college championship
Right.
game
I-
that he hit the game winning shot.
I never heard of that game. Never saw that footage. So to me, there's just some people like go into that movie and say everybody knows about that, but everybody doesn't. There are things that movies that I go to. I'm like, of course everybody knows about this, but they don't.
Yeah.
You know.
No, it's just cool like little like details that they go into and like
We go to MCU movies and they have the Stan Lee cameo.
Right.
There are people that in the theater going, "Who
Who's
the hell
that
is
guy?"
Stan Lee?" It's like, what are you talking about? Everybody knows Stan Lee. Everybody knows Stan Lee.
Why they put this guy on TV?
No, they don't. Not everybody knows Stan Lee. But yeah, so that's me going into this basketball movie. There's like a lot of basketball knowledge. Like you would say, like lore.
Yeah.
Like
The history,
Yeah.
history of him and this particular product.
I'll just give you my one like basketball tidbit that I have that I was part of. I went to Archbishop Malloy High School, and we were pretty good in sports, but I didn't really go to any sporting events. But in my senior year, I went to at least one, maybe two, but definitely one basketball game, and I saw Kenny Anderson
Oh, he played for the Nets.
play. I think he was a freshman. I was a senior. He was a freshman. I saw Kenny Anderson play in high school, and he was amazed. Like he got, the
Yeah.
game-winning shot at the end. It was just like an old story, high school storybook shit. But it was like I saw Kenny Anderson play in high
There you
school,
go. Oh, hey, listen, it's cool stuff like that you get to see a professional player before they even got there.
and he went on to play
Went to the NBA. Yeah, he played for the Nets for a number of years. Damon starts to get it in his head that there's something special about Jordan. And he starts figuring it out that night when he starts watching the play. And then he
Yeah.
goes to Bateman the next day.
I thought that was a very interesting scene where
he keeps rewinding it
he was
over and over
rewinding
again.
it, and it's like he's seeing something, and I don't know what he sees, but I can't wait to hear what he says.
Right.
And he
And then he does it with Bateman the next morning.
Yeah.
He basically shows Bateman the tape of the game, and Bateman's like, "We've all seen this. We know what this is." Because at this point, it's been a couple of years since he won the championship. It's been 2 years, I think. So he starts analyzing the tape with him. It's like, "You're not seeing what I'm seeing," and he shows him that the play was really for Jordan and it wasn't for Worthy. And it was just showing that why would Dean Smith, who was the coach of UNC at the time, why would he draw up that play for him?
and UNC is what? University of North Carolina.
Very good, the Tar Heels.
I'm just guessing.
There you go.
That was my best guess.
You're good. And it was just so cool the way that he's breaking it down and telling Bateman about it. Bateman's like, "So what? Like we're not going to get." He's like, "We're not going to get Jordan. He wants to go with Adidas." And then Damon's like, "I'm all in going after him." And Bateman's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I want our entire budget."
Yeah.
Because they had a budget that they were going to go after 3 players to try to get to endorse their shoe. And and then Damon was like, "No, like I want all of it
give me
for
it
him.
all."
Give me it all, and I'm going to get him."
You know what? And I liked that aspect of the story in the sense that, there's a guy going like, "Look, we do this every year. We do it the same way every year.
Yes.
And it
it gets us nowhere.
And it gets
Yes.
us nowhere. Let's take a chance and do something different."
Yeah.
And it's not just, throwing darts blindly at the board and hopefully we hit.
Right.
Like, you know what? Like, I think this is
This was Damon's point. Like Damon's point was like, this guy is
this is a good bet,
yeah.
but we need to put all of our money
Yep.
on that one bet.
And in order to do it, Bateman's like, "You got to talk to Phil." So of course, Matt Damon goes up. Sonny goes up and talks to Phil Knight, who is Ben Affleck, the owner and CEO of Nike. And they go up there, and he starts talking to him, and like, Phil Knight, Affleck's just like why are we going to invest? Why are we going to do all this with one person? Like that's like unheard of. Like we're not doing that. Like I'm not wasting all my money on this one guy.
And he's a rookie.
Yeah, and he's like, you haven't had a big hit in a while. And Damon's just telling him, like, I'm telling you, there's something special about this kid. He's going to be really special. We've got to rein him in. It's like, this is the guy.
And not for nothing, to a certain degree, he probably got lucky. Because he's probably had that feeling for other people, and they didn't go.
And they didn't pan out. But he mentions that.
Yeah.
Like Phil Knight mentions that to him. Like, what about so and so? Like you thought this was going to happen, and it didn't work out.
Right.
And he's like, I know. He's like, and you know what? Next year, like I might have this feeling about someone else, but I'm telling you, this guy, there's something there.
And to me, like sometimes
you get it. Like you understand Phil Knight's perspective. About
sometimes your feeling is right, but the guy has the potential, but he just doesn't succeed, and it's not your fault.
Right.
It's the guy maybe after he started his career made some bad decisions and he didn't get anywhere. So it's hard to say whether someone in Matt Damon's position in that case is he truly right or wrong.
Yeah. And at that point in time, they were looking to basically give him $250,000 a year as part of the contract. Mm-hmm. Like that's what they were going to give him, and it was they were hoping to spread the money over like 3 different players, and so but Damon's like, no, like we're going all in. And Affleck's like, we're going to give this all to a rookie who's never stood foot on the court. And this shot's in the trailer, and Matt's like, yeah, that's exactly what a rookie is.
Yeah.
Like, so it's it played off just as well in the movie as it did in the commercial, even in the trailer, even though I'd seen it. But at this point in time, now he's talking with Damon starts talking to his agent, to Jordan's agent, and Jordan's agent's like, there's no way, he wants nothing to do with Nike.
And I'll be honest with you, I think the agent plays a great role
Oh, absolutely.
because he's a total.
He's a jerk.
He's a total. I want to say, he's a total douchebag.
Yeah.
But like,
But his job is
but
to
that-
get his
right,
client the
right.
best deal.
right, and it's like that job requires you to be that. Like, in order to, you
Yeah.
got to be.
You gotta
that,
be a shark.
You got to be that guy. You got to be that shark.
Yep. And he played it really freaking
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I
And
think
just gave it, and he gave
he
it
has
to
one
Damon.
of the. I think he has one of the best parts in the movie, and I have no idea
he's
who
great.
it is, but he plays a great part.
I liked him a lot, especially when they get into the fight later in the movie. Basically Damon was just like, like, let's get a meeting, and he's like, no, he's like, I'm not doing that. It's not going to happen. And so basically he blows off Damon. He's like, he's got a meeting with Converse, he's got a meeting with Adidas, he's not taking a meeting with Nike. So Damon's basically back to square one until he has a meeting in the bar with Marlon Wayans.
Marlon Wayans, right?
Who I think coached him in the U.S. games, because this was before the professionals played. So it was the college players that played
Oh yeah, yeah. In the Olympics,
in the Olympics.
there was a certain time where you couldn't be a professional.
And I think Marlon Wayans was one of like the assistant coaches or something like
Yeah.
that. And so they was talking, they were talking about Jordan, and I think he was telling, I think like Damon like put it out there to like who runs the show, or was that Chris Tucker that was talking to him about the mother is the one that's important.
Oh,
I can't remember if it was Tucker or if it was Marlon Wayans.
I probably
Because Tucker was a former
probably was
professional.
Tucker.
I think Tucker's a former professional player that works for Nike now.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I remember you saying like you liked Chris Tucker's performance. I didn't.
I did. I liked
didn't,
Tucker.
I didn't care for his performance too much because I felt like it was a little over the top. It was too diversionary, and that didn't serve much purpose to the story. Like he was like this, like he was very animated, but I felt like it didn't. There was no point to it.
I feel like
it didn't propel the story at all.
I feel like for him, he had the inside track with like the Jordan family. Like he was giving between him and Marlon Wayans, they were giving Damon. They were giving Sonny the inside thought of how do I approach the fan? Like how do I get Jordan's attention to want to come and take a meeting here?
Yeah.
And basically they were like, you've got to talk to the family, but if
Yeah.
you talk to the family, you're going to piss off the agent.
Yeah, you got.
And it was like, just know that you're going to piss off the agent. Like you're going to get an earful.
And if you don't, basically, if you don't get the deal,
And if you go there and nothing happens out of it,
and you went around the agent, you're going to be blacklisted or blackballed, whatever. you
right? Like you're probably going to also get fired.
Right. Yeah. Like like
for
'cause
doing that.
you broke the rules
Right. And so
and you didn't succeed.
right, and you didn't land him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he basically has to get the blessing of Phil Knight. He's got to get his blessing before he goes out there to dump all the money. Or did he even do that, or he did that afterwards?
I think he did it afterwards.
He just went. Right?
I think he went on his own.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. He did. He just went out there on his own.
because
So
he was calling them from the road.
oh, that's right. And he wasn't answering his phone.
Where are you? He's like, I'm on the road, going to see the fam.
So he goes out there and meets up with Michael's father, James Jordan, who is played by Viola Davis's husband. I'm pretty sure.
You mentioned that I don't
I'm
know.
pretty sure. And then we meet Jordan's mother. We meet Viola Davis.
She is the one pulling all the strings.
She's the one looking out for her son.
She is the matriarch of that family. She is sharp business acumen, looking for the right deal.
Yeah, like she knows her stuff. So it's like the two of them sit down in the backyard, just have a chat. And honestly, I wonder if that's how it really happened. Like I actually wonder if it really occurred that way.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Where it was just him and her. And Sonny even asks her, I was like, is Michael here? And she goes, yes. She goes, but we're not there yet. You know, tell him like, you're not going to meet my son yet.
Yeah, that's irrelevant at this point.
And
He doesn't need to be bothered with you
And-
until I deem you worthy.
absolutely.
Deem you worthy to take up his time.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're just wasting his time.
Because she knows how much at this point that he does not want to have a meeting with Nike.
Yeah.
Like she's already said it. She's already talked about, she talks to him about Converse. She talks to him about Adidas. And this is one of the conversations that I love that Matt Damon has in the film with another character. And his dialogue is basically like, tell you what, I'm going to make a deal with you. Like, I'm going to tell you how these meetings are going to go. And if I'm right, I want you to try to put in a word with Michael to have a meeting with us.
Yeah.
And he basically tells her exactly the scenarios for both companies.
Yeah. How one company's just going to blow smoke up their butt.
Yeah,
And
like
the
this
other
one
company
guy
is all in disarray.
right. Yeah, because like the head of Adidas had passed away, so now it's the family that's taken over, and it's like who's really running.
And they're
it.
all trying to
It's like like
jockeying for power.
Yeah.
They're a disconnected company at this point.
Yep. So, he pleads his case and then leaves.
Well, you know what though? It was interesting though because the other company they were talking about, not Adidas, was it Converse?
Converse.
It was like, the thing was what are you going to do for my son? How are you going to make him stand out?
Right.
And like they were saying like, we got the top three players. Who they had? We got
had
Magic
Magic,
Johnson,
Larry
Bird.
Was it Kareem? It might have been, or no, Julius Erving, Dr. J.
Julius or Dr. J, Julius
Yeah.
Erving. So not for nothing, there is a certain rationale to the point where like, okay, we got these three established titans of basketball. We want to get your son, and we're gonna put him in that group. And it's like, well, how is he gonna stand out? And it's like, not for nothing, you're still a rookie. And these are the guys that everybody wants. These are the household names.
Yeah, everybody wants to be them.
Michael Jordan is not a household name. So to me,
Oh, it was ballsy.
it is an honor to be put in their company. Like that is an honor. That's not a disrespect.
No, and that's what Converse was trying to say, right? Converse's plan was we're going to put him with these other players.
And it's like, well, I mean, what else do you want?
And meanwhile, the mother was just like, he's going to surpass that.
Right.
So
but,
how are you going to make him stand out?
yeah, and it's like, well,
How are you going to help him succeed to surpass that?
and the only reason Nike can do better than them is because they don't have anybody.
they don't have anybody
They
like
don't have
that.
anybody. We're gonna take your guy and run with them because he's
You
gonna
will be the
he's gonna
face.
be all we have.
Yeah.
So it's like, Nike's in a position of power to offer the most they can to Michael Jordan because they're in a position of disadvantage as a company.
Yes.
Because they don't have anybody else.
But I also think it's the vision. It's having the vision of what this person could do for your company if he turns out to be the person you believe him.
No, yes, but it's also a matter of, it's a matter of selling. Like Matt Damon
Yeah.
is selling Nike
Of course.
and taking away from the competition.
Right. Like,
but
you
at
have
the end
to-
of the day,
like, you have to steal him from
Yeah.
these other companies
You
because
know?
it's pretty much like
but it is a con.
Jordan's mother basically says, like, I think her name's Dolores, right? Isn't it? I think it's Dolores.
I don't remember. But at the end of the day, it is a con because
In a way.
he's true about Adidas being a mess. Like their household is such a mess, they're not going to be able to give you the attention that you deserve, and only because it's at a time when their house
or-
is in a mess.
Or you don't know if they're going to be able to sustain what they're telling you in 2
Right.
to 3 years from now.
But the Converse people, it's like I feel like he's sour. He soured their argument with her.
Well, well, he did, but he was smart about that because
No, he was. He
his
was
whole
smart.
thing is he's like, we want to make your son our number one priority,
Right.
and he's basically saying that Converse isn't going to do that.
because they have number 1, 2, and 3.
Right. And you're number 4.
Right.
And that was her whole thing was, why is like he number 4?
Right, but you know
and I
what?
understand, like, okay, I get it. He
Yeah.
hasn't played yet.
In the grand scheme of things, at that point in time,
Look, it's all
Michael
about,
Jordan.
it's all about a risk.
Yeah.
It's all about taking a risk.
Michael Jordan does not get into the basketball game on his first day on the court as a professional, in his rookie year, and is automatically above the greatest players playing at that time. Like he's got to get there.
He's got to earn that.
Yeah. So for them to say, he's better than them, well, that's not established yet.
Right.
He's gonna get there,
But
he's not there on day one.
no, and that's absolutely
Yeah.
right. And as far as like Converse goes, like they didn't have that vision.
Right.
Whereas-
No, they didn't have that.
which is
vision.
where like Nike does. Like that was the whole point of what Sonny was trying to basically show
Mm-hmm.
them. Like they're gonna wine and dine you, but they don't believe in your son the way that I believe in your son.
Right. Well, because ultimately they have to downplay him to protect the assets that they already have.
Of course.
Right. And so
Yep.
and not for nothing, that's the only move Converse can make. The best thing Converse can do is say, we're going to put you in the same room with these 3 people.
Right.
That's the best thing. They can't say, like, if they put him above them, those 3 guys are going to be like,
Whereas
wait, what? Whoa. You're going to pay Michael Jordan more
putting
than
the
I
rookie-
am? More
Right.
than me? Like, who's Michael Jordan? Are you kidding me? I'm freaking Dr. J.
Yeah, no, I think honestly like that was such a brilliant move.
Yeah.
By Sonny, and that's why I like it so much because I feel like he subterfuges like
Yes.
those meetings because he basically tells her they're not gonna make him the priority.
Right.
Not what we can offer.
Right.
And it's I liked how he was so upfront, and that's the one great thing about Damon in this is that there's 2 like real moments that he has in this film where he's just so blunt and upfront, and it wins everybody over, and this is one of those moments.
Yeah.
And then eventually the Jordans have these meetings with both of them, and everything's predicted absolutely right, and then then Damon gets the phone call from the agent.
That
Jordan's agent.
He's going to have a meeting.
And he basically
Yeah.
no, but before he even gets to that point, he like reams him out, like basically like you went to their house,
Yeah,
because like
yeah.
that's a no.
Yeah,
and
no,
he
that,
went.
no, that's a great scene when he balls him out.
Oh man, and Damon just takes it. He just like because he's like he knows he's like that was the only way he was getting it. And then at the end of the conversation, he goes, "They're like I hope you've got something prepared because they're coming Monday or something like that." And they basically they set up the meeting, and they go, "All right, now we got to make a shoe." And so they go downstairs into the basement, into
Yeah.
like the sneaker maker, like the guru, the guy who's going to come up with the idea.
And to me, I would find it very hard to believe that aspect of the story is true, because I don't think, you can put together the $1 million idea
In a weekend,
in a weekend.
maybe you could.
Maybe you could.
I would actually.
Now that being said, they
I
only
don't
had
know
to
if that's
they
true or not.
only had to put it like
they
on
only had to make
paper.
one.
But
No, they didn't have to make it paper. They had to make an actual product.
they had to make the actual shoe.
Yeah.
And that to me I felt was a little unbelievable.
They basically came
Where
up.
it's like-
To me, it's like they came up with the shoe. They came up with the design in like a day and a half, and then he had to make it, and then that took up like the rest of like Sunday.
Like like the guy who's doing like okay, so the thing is Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have the idea.
They're not creating the shoe,
But they don't even have any ideas about the shoe.
but that's why That's why the maker was asking them. Okay, he was asking them all these questions. Okay, is it for form or function?
Right.
Like what colors are we going with?
No, I know,
like, all that stuff.
But this guy is being brought in on it on Friday afternoon. The guy who's making the shoe is like pretty much ready to go home for the weekend, and now it's like, no, you got to like.
But that's why this guy's so good at his job.
Yeah, but to me, it's like it's too good. It's like,
No, don't get me wrong. Like I would actually
Yeah.
like to, when we're done filming this, I'm going to look up and see like how true that part of the story is because I
Yeah.
actually want to know for myself.
because it's like, and you almost feel like you're setting the guy up for failure. You know, you got to come up with the greatest shoe of all time, and you got to do it this weekend. And it's like, the guy's like, this guy didn't know any of this was coming to his desk
Well, that's why it was basically a priority.
until it got there. Like, it's not like he was like
Everything else stops.
well, it's not like he knew it was coming and he was kind of thinking about it, and now the request is here, and now I'm ready. He's just like, he's being told everything for the first time.
But that's how good he probably was at his job.
Yeah.
He's like, we're telling you this is what we need, and we need it ASAP, and we need a real product by Monday morning.
Yeah, and I almost feel like he almost had to come up with the like
I'm telling you, it was like
the
design in one day,
the brilliant design.
create it the next.
Yeah, because I mean,
That's
I
pretty
almost
much how it
feel
was.
like the end all be all entire concept that Matt Damon had in his head was that, well, I just want a shoe for Michael Jordan. I can't tell you anything else more than that.
No, that's not true. He says to him, I need you to make the greatest basketball sneaker that's ever been made.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. He has no idea what that means. Matt
Who?
Matt Damon does that doesn't give you any.
No, well, see, no, that's not true because as a person who's in the business of making sneakers, I'm sure he knows exactly what the competition looks like and does.
And wants to do better.
And he's got to
Okay.
take it one step further. Like that's your job. Like you're in that industry. You know what your competition is making.
Yeah.
You know what the Converse basketball sneakers look like. You know what the Adidas sneakers look like. You've got to take it and make it one step better.
Right.
And how are you going to do that?
It just. No, I get that. I think when I was watching the movie, I was like getting the impression like Matt Damon's like, I have this great idea. We're gonna make the greatest shoe of all time, and that's his whole statement. Okay, like thanks, for the brainchild.
But that's where you
now
get
you got to
hit.
go to somebody and say, okay,
But they are
I
perfect.
came up with the idea to make the greatest shoe of all time. So now now go and do that.
But that's not. But that's all right. But you're forgetting. So him and Bateman. Jason Bateman's character also becomes a big part of it at this point in time because he stays with Damon over the weekend. And basically, it's like you're throwing all your eggs into one basket. And he's like, if this doesn't work, we're pretty much all out of a job.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't understand because you don't have family. Like he's got his daughter that he has to worry about. And I think that's when it kind of clicks for Damon that we've got to nail this.
That
Scene, that little scene that
Yeah.
they have together, I thought was very important.
that speech reminded me of the speech that Kanish gives Matt Damon in Rounders
Okay.
about where he says, like, oh, I want, sitting at the table, spending all this money, and I forget the actor's name.
Who plays Kanish?
Yeah.
Or the
Wait,
Russian?
No.
At the end.
No, Kanish. He was in,
I know. John Turturro.
John Turturro. Yeah, so John Turturro's like he's like, like I'm not, playing cards, chasing pipe dreams to sit at the final table at the Grand World Series of Poker. He goes, I'm, paying bills. I got paying rent. Got a family to feed. Like it's a job. It's not a chance. That's like he's
Yeah.
his decisions and how he does it is based on what he has to lose. Like same thing in this movie where it's like sometimes the person who's got a lot to lose has to play it safe
Right.
to ensure that they're making this. Yeah, you could take a chance and get this, but you
Right.
could take that same chance, screw it up, you're out of a job, and now it's not just you that's fucked; it's your whole family.
And listen, the two of them though, they go downstairs with the sneaker guru and like they start giving notes because he starts having all these drawings out, right? Like he started getting to work on this thing. He's got multiple drawings out and they're like, all right, like this one looks good. All right, you got to put more red in this. And then they start talking about the colors more and they're like, well, it has to be, well, he comes up with a sketch and it's like, it's very white. It has some red in it, some black, but very white.
No, and I
And
love
Damon's like, it's not enough color.
no,
we
we
got to
need
get
more
more
red.
red.
And then they start pulling up the rules about, well,
Yes.
and then
And this is true.
Yeah, I believe it.
And this is true. So
And
basically,
I love that they say, screw it, we'll pay the fine.
yeah. And this is exactly
love
what
that.
happened. Jordan's first year when he wears those sneakers, he got fined every single game for that because they had to be a certain percentage of white in the sneaker and it wasn't. And Nike paid the fine for every game.
And I'm curious
And then I think they changed the rules.
if at some point did the rule change, because they don't mention that at all.
They don't mention that, but I'm pretty sure the rule changed
And
after that.
and not for nothing, that's something that if it did change, it should have been like at the end of the movie when they start talking about like when they pull
Like
up,
what happens
like,
afterwards.
Well, they put a lot of blurbage on the screen. Like that should have been like, and in 1980 whatever, the rule for the percentage of color was changed to this or thrown out or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a very interesting tidbit
But it was
of
just
information to
it was
know.
just a really, really cool nod that they put that in there because I think that was very important. When we get to like that final meeting, that final pitch, I feel like that's really important that gets brought in there because it was showing Jordan, I think, and his family the commitment that Nike was looking to have.
Yeah.
Because it was like, you know what? Screw the rules. Like, you're our client. We're looking to make you stand out.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to do that? You're going to be playing an entire season with an illegal sneaker that we're going to take care of, and you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
You know, and I thought that was just really cool. And we get to that, like they're basically all like done, they're exhausted, and they got everything planned out, like who's going to talk to who, when they're going to come in. They're telling Affleck, listen, you come in late to the meeting, like don't get there on time. We want you late. Like, and he's like, no, that's disrespectful. It's like, this is our main guy. Like, I should be there for this. They're like, yes, you're taking time out of your busy schedule to come to this meeting. That's why you're running late.
Well, yeah,
you left your other meetings to come to this one.
It's all sales pitch dynamics and presentation.
That's the marketing and
it's
the business.
It's all about hooking the client.
And I thought that was genius to like really throw that. Like when I started thinking about it, I was like, wow, that's actually really smart how they did that.
One of the things that they did in this film, which was actually, I think it was smart, is that the character of Michael Jordan
is never shown.
Is not in the film very much, and they almost never show his face.
No, and it was intentionally done. If you listen to Affleck on his interviews, he was saying there's no one, we couldn't get anyone to play Michael Jordan. He's like, everybody knows him. There was no way we were going to get an actor to portray.
If you
that
showed his
character.
face, it would just draw attention to the fact that it's
not
that
him.
It's not him.
Yep.
Right.
So I think they got away with someone who looked very similar from like the side or the back, and he never spoke.
Right.
I think he said like one line.
Very
in the
little.
Whole
And if
thing.
they actually got Michael Jordan to play himself and de-aged him,
it would have been-
I think
it
it
would
would
have
have
been
looked goofy, and it would have drawn too much attention to him.
Yeah, I think it was kind of perfect how they did it.
Now, so oddly enough, the way Michael Jordan was portrayed in the film, like you said, like you don't see his face, you see his back a lot, you see his sides a lot,
Yeah.
is very much how Jesus is portrayed in many religious / biblical films, especially like older ones from like the 50s and 60s, where that was a huge genre of film.
Right. You want to know why that's so funny? You just said that. You know what Jordan was referred to for a while in the NBA?
As what?
He was referred to as Black Jesus.
Black Jesus? That I never heard of. That's actually really funny. But if you watch a lot of biblical movies, like, and they're not like say like a movie like Ben-Hur. Ben-Hur is not about Jesus, but Jesus is part of the story.
Right.
Anytime Jesus is there, you only see him from the back or the side or from the chest.
Because how do you
You like
had you hire someone
right
to play
like
Jesus?
you'd almost like it was almost considered like sacrilegious to put a face on Jesus on film,
Right.
But also for the same reasons that it would be distracting.
Yes.
People would be criticizing it. That's not what Jesus looks like.
And I think that was-
make it like like almost like a mystery.
That was the smartest thing. I think that was one of the best moves that they made in this film was to not put him in it.
And not put him even in it like a lot. Like he's not even important.
He's only in a handful of scenes.
Yeah, and he's not even
the
there.
meetings.
He's when he's in those scenes, he's just a presence. He's not even.
He's
much,
a prop.
Yeah, he's not an active participant in really what's going on.
He's a prop in the room.
Yeah.
That these people are trying to cater to, but at the same time, they're also trying to cater to his family because they know how important his family is, and they. When Viola Davis comes into this final pitch meeting, she comes in and James Jordan comes in and he's great because he's just smiling like oh, here we go, like we're gonna see how this all
That's
goes
Chris
down.
Tucker, right?
No. James Jordan is Viola Davis's
Oh,
husband,
the husband.
Michael
Gotcha.
Jordan's
Okay.
father in
Gotcha.
the movie. Chris Tucker comes into that meeting. He comes in late.
Now, is it just me, but Chris Tucker had really big bug eyes for this film?
No, I think that's him normally. I think it might be I think he might have like a thyroid thing because that's why his eyes look like that.
Oh, okay. That's how he normally looks. I thought
Yeah.
maybe like they were trying to make him look like the character that he's portraying. That maybe that's how
No.
he looked. That's what he looked like, and they were screwing around with his eyes.
No, I don't think so. I think
He's
that's just him.
Sorry, Chris Tucker. Not trying to point out your malady or anything, but
But I think like he has this like really like funny conversation with the Jordans when they first get there, when they go into the main meeting room, and then at one point like they show this terrible video.
Oh God.
It's like, and it's funny too because the night before they're talking about the
it's
video,
a
and it, like they got
motivational video.
It was, I forget who asked about that. Someone asked about the video, like out of like their little team group, and like, yeah, we got the video ready. It's ready to go. And I'm like, as soon as they said that, I'm like, that video is going to be terrible.
Yeah, because
It's gonna
not
be
for nothing,
terrible.
like everybody's pretty busy doing this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
like that task was assigned to like the video people, whoever they
Right.
were, and they're not part of this fucking vision. They're just like, you know what? We gotta
put these highlights together.
We gotta put a Michael Jordan video together. It's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
have its highs. It's gonna have its lows. It's gonna have and it's lame.
And it's really bad. And the key thing, so this kind of goes back to
It's almost pointless. Like you almost don't even need it.
right, and
Just
it goes
sit there and talk business.
it goes back to Marlon Wayans because Marlon Wayans starts talking about how he was there for Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech,
Right.
and claimed to actually, he basically said like that speech was not the original speech.
Halfway through, he
changed
it because he didn't like the direction it was going. And
Right.
and
He said he didn't have the people with him, and he completely changed it and took that speech, put it away, or ended up giving it to Marlon Wayans' character, and he basically had a copy of it. And I that actually might be true because I think that he's been offered
they
money
mentioned,
for that.
mentioned
At the end, right?
end that
He's been
that
offered a lot of
character,
money for that.
still won't has been offered and wouldn't sell it.
Right, wouldn't sell the speech. So Matt Damon at this point in time is watching this and can look at the Jordans and basically just see that Michael's not into it.
And they're rolling their eyes.
He's
They're just like-
he's completely taken away
It's
from
a
it.
total nonsense fluff video that's
Yep.
taking away from.
And this is after, so they showed him the shoe at this point. Like they basically unveiled it, and like you can kind of see like they actually look really interested. Like the mom and the dad definitely look interested, and even Michael for a second looks like he's actually paying attention now that they got his attention on the sneaker.
Well, not for nothing, the fact that it was so red would have.
It's very drawing to
It's
him.
right. It like.
And obviously they did that for the Bulls colors because that's what the Bulls colors are.
It's going to draw your attention
Yes.
to it. And
And they even and they mentioned to him, and I think this is where they start talking about like the fines. Like, listen, we know that this is not what the regulation is, but we don't care about that.
And we
we
will pay.
want you to stand out,
and we will pay.
and
we
we're
will pay
gonna
that
pay.
fine.
And then you see like I think Dolores, she like starts with she has a nice smile, or the dad I think had like a big smile on his face with that.
Because that's ballsy.
Oh, big time.
Because nobody ever did that. I'm
Nope.
sure.
No one did, and I think it just shows them how committed they are to him. Because listen, at the end of the day, like if he succeeds, they succeed.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, that's the mutual relationship that you have to know that you're going in with.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they mention in at the end that in the first year,
Oh, how much they
Air
sold.
Jordan sold $162 million
Right.
in its first year,
Yep.
which is probably
Which was like exponentially
way
more,
over the
not only of
projections.
what the projection was, but of what they had sold in the past, like
Yeah.
altogether. So the so Damien basically tells him like stop the video, and at this point Affleck starts to freak out, right? Because he's like, "What the hell are you doing? Like this is completely now off script." He's like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing?"
And people don't and
Because they're
people
like they don't want to ruin it.
People don't like off script.
Yeah, like you don't want to like at this point like don't ruin this meeting because we have them here. And then basically Damon turns to Jordan,
And just gives them the spiel.
tells him it straight, like this is what's going to happen to you, and was just completely 100% honest. And one of the great things is as he's telling this, they start to play a montage. Like the movie,
Yeah.
the movie starts showing a montage,
Yeah.
and it's now you just hear the voiceover of Damon talking, and it's all of like a lot of key highlights in Jordan's career of basketball and in his life. They show his father passing, they show him playing baseball, his return to basketball, and he starts talking about how people love to build up their heroes and then tear them down.
Yep.
And how do you respond to that? And how are you going to respond when that happens? What does that say about you and your character? And it's just an incredible speech that he goes on. And that's basically like the end of it, right?
Yeah.
And then basically just like they all stand up, they all thank one another for coming, and then they leave. And then they don't hear from him. It seems like a couple of weeks go by, right? Like it's not like the next day or two.
That,
Like
you know what? That I don't remember.
you know,
I don't remember the time frame.
It definitely seems like a little bit of time went by since that meeting. I'm going to say at least 1, if not 2 weeks, go by before the meeting happens. And now they're starting to hear from Chris Tucker. Like he gets some inside information that Jordan's probably going to sign with Adidas. You know, he's like they like the pitch, but they're going to go with Adidas. It was always Jordan's favorite. It's what they're going to go with, right? So at this point, everyone's Damon's kind of crushed. He hasn't said anything yet to anyone, and then he decides to go up and tell Affleck. And then he gets a phone call, and the phone call's from
The mother.
from Dolores, from Jordan, from Mrs. Jordan, and basically tells him that we're going to take the deal, but we want
A percentage
of
the sales.
every sale of every sneaker, which is completely unheard of at this point in time,
Right.
and has never happened for any professional athlete.
And you know what? I agree with her rationale because although that has never happened prior to that point, what has also never happened is that the name of the sneaker being sold has the name of the person. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like,
Because
like,
they intend, so they didn't.
Like
they called it like they were trying to figure like what to call it, right? And like the guy the sneaker guru says, "Oh, I had these like Air Force or something like that." It was an actual Nike basketball sneaker back in the '80s, and he's like, "Yeah, but like it was a product line that wasn't selling well, it wasn't doing well." But he's like, "I liked Air."
Yeah.
And then it became, what about Air Jordan?
Air Jordan.
And then you see Damien was like, I guess it'll grow on me or something. And then the same thing, like when they tell Affleck about it, they tell Phil Knight. Phil Knight's like, "Are you sure?" Like, I guess. Let me think about it or something. And then he also comes up with the Jordan logo too, which is basically him soaring in the air. And that's when the sneaker guru is basically like, I had this image in my head of him flying.
Yeah. So I mean, I could see where Viola Davis's character is saying, like, wait a minute, it's not just, a Nike sneaker that Air Jordan wears. You're calling it Air Jordan. You're putting our name on that sneaker, or Michael Jordan's name, our family name on that sneaker, and it's like you don't get to keep all that. If you know if you didn't have the name, I don't think she would have a leg to stand on. But like her argument is like you're calling it Air Jordan,
Right.
so we want a piece of it. We should get a piece of that, and she's right,
Yeah.
and she's right.
No.
But
And
it, you know,
this is where she was like
but
she
it
dominated.
you
Like
know,
she
but
was
it
so
but it
great.
breaks the rules. But you know what? At the end of the day, the Nike company was breaking the rules to get them. So now she
the whole
wants to break the rules.
the whole thing was like Damien gets so excited that they're landing this, but then she starts talking about this additional part
yeah,
of the
and
contract, and
he
he's
can't
like,
even agree. He can't even. He's not
no, he doesn't.
authorized to.
That's it.
It's not his decision to even
Yeah.
say, "Yeah, we'll do that." He's got to. He's going to have to go. Up. He's going to try and talk her out of it. See if she'll listen to reason, and she's like adamantly no. And now he's got to bring
But
it.
he says like he understands, like
Yeah.
he's out, like he like almost like I think he even like agrees with her.
He's
but
got
just
to.
like he's like,
But
it's
just
not
never
my
been
call.
done. It's never been
Yeah,
done.
and it's never been done.
But
he
you know
says.
what? Like it makes sense. It's almost like you know you don't get to use my name for free.
Well, the great thing was that he goes upstairs to tell Affleck, and Affleck's just waiting. Like he's literally like he's antsy. He can't stop moving. And then he comes up there and he sees Damon, and he's like, he puts his hands up in the air, like, did we do it? Like, we got it? And Damon goes to him. They turned it down, right? That's what I think he tells him. Like, he doesn't even say like she wanted. Like, no, they turned it down. And then he says like they want a piece of the shoe. And then then Affleck just thinks for like 2 seconds, and it's just like, fuck it. It's like, do it.
Yeah.
He's like, we're gonna go all in. Like, you,
Yeah,
you
like,
believe in him this much.
At that point,
we're doing
You
it.
say no, you lose everything.
Right.
So you might as well
And it was the best decision,
balls to the wall and go for broke and let's just do it.
best decision they ever made.
You know?
And it was. He goes downstairs. He calls up Mrs. Jordan.
Thinking outside the box.
I think, and like the one final thing that he ends up getting is the red Mercedes.
Yeah.
The SL 500.
Now, one of my favorite parts of this movie is at the very, very end. And to me, it's like the whole, like Matt Damon's character keeping it real is when he goes out onto the racetrack. And he's like,
Oh, he goes out to a track and starts jogging
And he
with the
went-
Nike, like it's like a Nike like
Yeah.
sprint outfit, you know, like a windbreaker outfit that he's got on, like warm up pants, and
he's like, all right, you know what? Let me try this. And he's just like,
he starts jogging.
and he goes, and
He doesn't even make like 100
and
meters
he's
on the
like,
track.
literally, fuck this. And I'm like, I can understand that sentiment.
It was.
Easily. Like, yep.
No, overall, I thought this movie was so well done. I
You
thought it
can
was
get me
really
on the
clever.
train. And I can tell you right now, within 50 feet, I'm going to be like, adios, guys. I'm going to get a hot dog.
God, I thought this movie was so well done. This was so enjoyable. And again, I'm biased because I am a
Yeah.
huge Jordan fan, but
I enjoyed
thought,
it.
I thought the story was really clever. It told you information about a story you think you know, but you don't have all the information for. And I think they did a really good job of trying to piece together how that all happened back in the 1980s.
Yeah, and like I said,
before.
I think there are lots of great real life stories of things that have happened in the past 50 years that have never been adapted to film, and they'll do well because people can relate
Yeah.
to them. People can relate to it, and if you tell it good, like I don't know, it'll be it's that's why I was drawn. Like this is a great recent story, and I have no vested interest in the topic, and I was still like, and I'm not like totally enamored with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Like I like them,
Yeah.
but I'm like, you know what? This looks like a really good story about something interesting, even though I'm not emotionally or historically connected to what they're talking about. Like I can appreciate
I
it.
think one of the things that was really good too for the people that love nostalgia is that there's so much of that in this movie, especially towards the early portion.
Oh, they give a lot of like
You see,
80s
like,
stuff, things that happened in the 80s.
These old commercials and
Commercials,
advertisements. You see
music.
the music. Oh, the music was great throughout this movie. The music was really good. Great song choices. The
and
old
even
logos.
even
Just
gadgets and stuff that they were doing playing with or
I think
whatever.
there was like a Rubik's cube. I think at one point you saw
All sorts of
but like
stuff.
it was just really well done. It was
Yeah.
well thought out from beginning to end. It kept you motivated. It
Me,
kept you interested.
me personally, I gave the movie a pretty solid 3 stars. I thought that I thought it I thought it could have been told with a little bit more flair. But 3 stars is to me is a good rating. Like I'm like that's an enjoyable movie. It's a well 3 stars is an enjoyable, well made film. So I liked it.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
liked I
no, I
liked it a
liked
lot. I
I
thought all
liked
the
it.
performance. I really enjoyed the performances in this movie. I thought everyone did a really nice job.
And
Seeing
something that they showed at the in the end credits, which apparently was a shame, is that the sneaker guru
oh
died
yes, before it went into production.
had passed away before. Yeah, like before it
Before it
went
went
into
to
production.
production.
But I think he must have known the movie was being made.
Yeah,
But
I would hope so.
yeah, but he never got
Yeah,
to
for this
never
guy or
got
his
to see
family.
it.
Yeah.
And they like another thing they did. They showed pictures of all the real people that
Yeah,
at
and
that at that
actually I
time.
love when they do that
Yeah,
with those movies is that they actually
yeah.
show who the person was. I like that a lot. So guys, I think that's it for this review.
Yeah.
I think we did pretty good with this one.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
So thank you guys for everyone for tuning in. We've got some movies on the horizon.
Movies are coming out. I don't know what.
The next
Barbie's
one-
coming out.
Barbie's coming out in like a while, but Guardians is probably next.
Oh, Guardians Volume 3.
Guardians is coming out. Then The Flash shortly after that. So
Oh, and then there's a movie with Ray Romano coming out that everybody wants to go see. Something in Queens or in the Bronx.
we'll check it out. I'm sure.
Don't think this
There's some
weekend.
horror movies that are coming out right now too.
Really?
Evil Dead. Evil Dead.
New Evil
Is
Dead.
that? Yeah.
That's hysterical.
And then the Pope's Exorcist with
I have more interest in the Evil Dead
Evil
movie.
Dead. Okay. So guys, with that, I
But
think
you can drag me to see anything.
of course. All right, guys.
Well,
Cheers. Thanks so much
cheers.
for watching. All right. Take care.